Check this out.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Countdown is go at T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition.
This is ResortLoop.com, the gateway to the magic. Here's your host, Tim Scott.
Hey everybody, yes, it's Tim Scott. You heard the announcer. He just introduced me. He introduced the show, and this is the gateway to the magic. I'm well caffeinated. I'm joined by a wonderful guest. You know her from the DVC Roundtable. This is actually it's probably Mrs. Emily Honsa Hicks. Emily, how are you?
I am great. It is good to talk to you. And yeah, you can call me Mrs., Ms., whatever, Ms., Miss. I'll answer to anything, as long as there's some Disney involved.
Oh.
Call me by assumed names. I don't care.
That's why we love you so much here.
That's excellent. And that's also how I got on the Dream last time. I just chose a name, grabbed some documents. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway.
You took a quick COVID test with somebody else's specimens and you went right on board. Right. Fantastic. Anyway, we're here because we're going to talk a little cruise in the last DVC Roundtable. You let it out there that you took a cruise.
Sure did.
And I thought this would be a good time maybe to talk about your cruise, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. And while I was on this cruise, it was a short cruise, and we were really worried that it was going to feel too short and maybe feel like a waste of money to go on such a short little thing and be left wanting. I will tell you, one thing my husband said, and I totally agree with, Disney maintains that story arc kind of feeling through your cruise where there's a beginning, middle, and end, even on a short cruise. And so we found that it was completely worth going to. We felt completely vacated, if you will, like a vacation had occurred. And I mean, it was totally worth it. We did drive down and back, which was really hard given that we are, it's a 16-hour-ish drive for us up here in Ohio.
Yes.
But so I wouldn't necessarily recommend driving down and back for a short cruise, although we did it, and I'm still glad we did it. It was very hard because we got in really late technically the next morning. But yeah, so this was our third cruise. The first two cruises were the Fantasy, and this was a 3-night Bahamas cruise on the Dream. So it was the Fantasy sister ship, which was very fun. It felt familiar, but sort of different, right?
Right. So
yeah, and the clubs, the adult area, all new, or not new for us, I mean. So that was fun. And then I'm trying to think I had some revelations because this was the first time we've really been able to compare to any other ship or any other type of cruise, because the previous two were both 7 days, different locations, but 7 days on the Fantasy. So this was our first sort of different cruise, if you will. And the thing that pops out at me the most is I've heard complaints about this recently on lots of different social media channels and vlogs and blogs and everything. People are, and actually it was one of our first criticisms of the cruise experience when we went on our first Fantasy cruise. You felt, I personally was, as everybody knows, they sail out of, I think they're under the Bahamian flag. So they sail out of Nassau. That's like their flag is that. And so Disney is bound to those laws as far as, labor laws, things like that. So for a large part of our first cruise, I was kind of preoccupied with feeling kind of, I don't want to say guilty exactly, but very cognizant of the fact that the people that were on the ship serving us and letting us have such a great time were potentially, and I, didn't have any information about this, but were potentially paid far less than somebody that we would normally encounter on the mainland in the U.S.
Correct.
And so I actually, I don't know about you, but I found that sort of troublesome for a long time. And I would talk to people about their service on the cruise line, and they would say things like they were away from their family for this many months, and they go home and see them for a month. And they would tell me, oh yeah, they have like a 10-year-old or 10-month-old son, and they haven't met him yet, or things like that. And I was just it's so different than the life I live and the life, that we're fortunate to experience up here. I did eventually sort of come around to saying, like, these jobs are assumedly great jobs. People want them, and they pay well comparatively, and they're happy to do the job. Nobody is making them do it. So I got over that eventually. but it did sort of trouble me the first time.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of criticism recently about the pressure people are getting to tip their servers or to do gratuities or to give them a perfect rating or anything, which is part and parcel of that whole sort of troublesome feeling about like, is this really fair? Right. Sorry, you can cut any of this if it's too like psychologically painful for vacationers. But this is my biggest and best tip, because clearly other people are feeling this pinch when they're saying they don't like to feel the pressure to rate them perfectly, that they're asked over and over again about, maybe not gratuities, but definitely about ratings and making sure that people know that they need to leave gratuities. So one of my things that I did this trip is right off the bat, first night on the cruise, I told our head server who had come over to introduce himself and our servers, I said, hey, listen, I totally understand how important the rating system is for you guys. If I cannot give you all perfect scores, I'm not even going to fill the form out. So don't worry.
Oh, there you go.
I said, like, take it off your conscience, have a good time with us. And then I heard somebody say this, and I didn't actually do this, but I meant to, although it was such a short cruise, I don't think it made a difference, because I think that first sort of opening line helped. I meant to pay the gratuities early. So that they knew that, that they were getting a good, and I meant to over gratuity and do it early. So they knew that they were sort of like set up for a positive experience. So I will tell you, nobody mentioned a single thing about that comment card to us at all. We got it. Nobody asked, like the head server never mentioned it again. The servers never mentioned, please fill it out. It matters what you think, anything. They just totally acted like that wasn't an issue at all. And I'm not saying that they would have, because I've never had them before. Maybe they just never would have mentioned it, but I think that they are supposed to tell you about it. And I think that there, in our past experiences, there has been, I don't want to say pressure, but there definitely has been sort of a urgent message that there's kind of the fate of the server depends on how you rate them.
I've heard the same thing on our cruises where they bring it up. I've never have taken it as, our necks are on the line for this, but they really appreciate the feedback. And I'll say there's never been a Disney cruise where we've not wanted to tip. Actually, more than the recommended.
Absolutely, right, and rate them highly. But I do think that I don't know if I know that at least on one of the cruises, and luckily I can't remember which. So Disney, if you're listening, you can't pin this on anyone. One of those cruises, I think that they did convey to us that if we were inclined to give anything less than a top rating, to talk to them first so they could try to fix it. So since you get it at the end of the cruise and you're supposed to turn it on while you walk off the ship, pretty hard to say that you would actually be able to do that meaningfully. And then I think there's also the criticism that there's a lot of things that you rate the servers for that the servers might get blowback for that are not really under their control, like food quality or something like that. So,
never blame the servers for the food that's brought to you.
Right. But I guess the way, and I don't even know if this is true, but I've been told that Disney would say then it's the server's fault if you didn't like your food because they didn't offer you something else or make sure you liked it or, substitute it with something, So I don't know if that's true. And so Disney, I apologize if I'm getting this wrong, but it seems to be a pain point for a lot of cruisers because I have seen it over and over and over again on blogs and on vlogs when I was trying to prepare for this dream cruise. So that's like my number one tip is just out of the gate, tell your servers that they can expect positive feedback from you unless they really screw up and you will and potentially just not turn to slip in if you don't feel like you can give them positive 100% positive, because I don't think they can really hold a cruiser's negligence against them. But
right.
So with that depressing commentary over, we got off the ship at Nassau. We did like a little pirate cruise, and it was hot at first, but everybody warmed up to it. We did at Castaway Cay, we just kind of did Scuttle's Cove, and Matt and I went over to the Serenity Bay for a little bit, and then we all just hung out as a family and collected seashells. And it really did feel like a longer cruise than it actually was, and I don't know how that is. Oh, we won Gabby and I won the Know Your Family competition.
Oh,
so that's exciting. So for all of you parents who have been stuck with your kids in virtual learning for a year plus now, or I guess hopefully you're over it like we are.
Right.
But if you have been stuck with your kids, I mean, somehow all of that knowledge of your children's instincts will pay off potentially.
Where does that game take? Where does that game take place?
That was in, oh man, I forget what it's called, but it was the equivalent of the tube on the fantasy.
Okay.
Man, what was it? It's man, I cannot remember what the room was called, but it was kind of like a larger room. They use it for Match Your Mate, which we also watched, which was a fun one to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did a lot of that kind of stuff. It was short, but we got in a lot of those little preview things where you get to trivia, things like that. I went and saw the Making of the Dream, which was really nice. And then sort of my COVID updates. I don't know how much anybody will have changed the policy, but they had one for people who care about the kids club. You could register for one slot a day in advance. However, when we got there, they said actually that we hadn't registered for those slots or that they were cleared out. And Matt got an email saying something like, "We apologize. We've had to cancel your reservations because of changes to the schedule. Please see our crew to confirm availability or to book yourself." So we didn't actually see that email until later, until we went to the kids club and to ask if they had any additional slots the first day. And that's when they told us, "Oh, you actually have no slots at all." So
wow.
If you are counting on the kids club, I would say go the first day when you get on the ship and confirm that you have the times you think you have. And then if you don't have any times that you think you have, you can book them on the ship. And then I don't know what your listener numbers are, Tim, so I'm afraid to give this tip out, but they, as long as they're still restricting the kids to these, they sort of put them in time slots, and then the kids all hang out with the same kids for that time slot. Like it's a scheduled thing.
Mm-hmm.
And two of the days, I think maybe it's sea days, but for us, it was the Castaway Key Day and the Embarkation Day that you only got an hour and a half slot, and the other two, you got 2.5 hours. So if your kids want to go to the kids club more than once a day, or say the kids club is completely booked up for some reason, because of all the slots have been taken and you weren't quick on the shoot at the kids club when you got on the ship to get your kids registered, you can, if you have reservations, they will figure something out as long as they can. So for as long as this sort of scheme goes where they book slots at the kids club, you will be able to, you can say if you have a reservation for Paolo or Remy, go to the kids club, tell them, and they'll figure it out. So that's what we were told the first day. So that made us feel way better because we wanted to do some of the tastings. So what we did was we just booked an extra tasting or event or something like that every single day. And our kids always got to go to the kids club for that period of time.
Oh, that's awesome.
There was one day. Yeah, it was like kind of a hack to get. Now, obviously, if everybody does this, it's not going to work. So use it sparingly. But there was one day where they could only take the kids for literally a half hour during the event we were going to because they were so booked. But they are doing their very best to accommodate while maintaining those little groups that move together throughout the club. So I assume so that if there is any kind of infection or anything like that, they'll be able to track down exactly how many kids there were, and it won't be like the entire ship was affected.
Right. And you have for those that don't know, you have 3 kids too, so they were managed to get 3 in there.
Exactly. Yep. And then sometimes they would also, when we were booking them that first day, they'd say, "Well, we only have 1 slot at 9, but we have 2 at 9:15, but you can bring them all at the same time. It's just they'll be in different groups."
Gotcha.
And so that worked out too, which was kind of nice because they did have these sort of like groups. And I don't know, I haven't asked my kids about this, but I wonder if it wouldn't take the pressure off of some kids that are more shy, to like, they have a fixed small group. So they don't have to go find friends to play with. They're sort of like given a group, and they're all going to stick together through the whole thing. So they don't have to feel bad making friends with this person or worrying that the person isn't, going to walk away and go do something else.
Oh yeah, I can
because
see
the person
that.
is going to do that.
Right.
Yeah. So
awesome.
I don't know if I kind of like that. I think it works out well for my son, who could be a little shyer sometimes.
I understand that. What kind of a stateroom did you get? It's a party of 5.
Oh yes. So the only real stateroom we can get, in budget would be an ocean view family veranda, I think.
Okay.
So otherwise we have to split into 2 rooms, and I've sliced it and diced it a couple of times, and it never seems to make sense to do it that way. So we got ocean view family deluxe veranda stateroom. I think that's all the words in that title. And it was on the 9th floor, and it was very nice. And it was very much like the fantasy. The veranda, I don't think this is true, but it felt a little small. But I'm probably just imagining that. But it was just great, and we had so much fun sitting on the veranda, watching ships, watching the ports. We got the correct side to see Castaway Cay when we pulled in, so that was really cool.
Oh, nice.
And, yep, and the kids are hitting a really great. Oh, here's my other tip. I wanted to just share all the tips. That's why I was thinking we should talk. But my kids also, they don't do the thing where they take your kids to the kids club anymore after dinner.
Oh, that was always so nice. I
know. It was the best. And it really made the adults be able to enjoy their dinner, and the kids could rush through and still eat with you, but they actually eat all their food instead of picking. So, I mean, this is my experience, but we figured out a hack, if you will. I don't know if there's like an age where this is not the truth, but our kids are at least 7. All 3 of them are at least 7. So they are actually allowed to check themselves into the kids club. The only thing they can't do is check themselves out.
Oh,
so as soon as your kids are, as soon as they're capable of walking by themselves, and sort of, as soon as you think your kid is trustworthy and, sort of able,
right,
in an intellectual way to find it,
and know the way around the
direction.
Ship. Yes.
Right. Exactly. So I walked the kids through the pattern twice, and they all stuck together, and the older ones, kept it together. Although I swear my younger one probably would have been more responsible about all of it. But we would just let them leave their dinner. After they finished their dinner, they would leave, they would go to the kids club. And so we had an 8:15 seating, and their slots were at 9 pretty much every night. So they would just finish, and then they would walk down to the kids club by themselves, check in. And it was just amazing. So it was very much just like the whole kids club counselor experience. So that's kind of my hack to get back to that same experience that you may be used to from cruises past.
Now, did you get a notification when they got to the kids club, or you just knew they were made it okay?
Nope, I did not. But luckily, I feel like I can hear them complain and whine anywhere. So
a mother knows
enough, right? And they do stick together. In fact, one time I sent them. We went all the way to the kids club, and they realized they had forgotten to put on their masks. And we were coming from breakfast, I want to say. So they left their masks on the table. I didn't notice because they were in front of me. We get to the kids club, and I'm like, oh no, where are your masks? And they're like, we'll go get them. So I was like, I don't know if you know how to do that. So I waited with my son for a minute, and then I realized that the person behind me, I vaguely knew her through our Facebook group. And I said, can you just make sure he checks himself in here? Because she was waiting with her child. She's like, absolutely. So I ran to try to find my daughters, because I was like, they're probably going to be hopelessly lost. And then I went up, I want to say we were at Cabanas, that's where their masks were. And I want to say I went to the 8th floor from the 5th floor, got off the elevator there, and just started walking up the stairs because I figured I would find them on the way. Sure enough, they're on the 10th floor arguing with each other about how to work the elevator. So, like they know how to work an elevator, but I just knew that this was gonna. So anyway, I figured that 3 of them together, they would be so busy yelling at each other about something that somebody would either help them, or it would be discovered quickly that they hadn't done what they were supposed to do. So, yep.
Right. So you would recommend a 3-day for someone that can maybe only fit it in on a weekend?
I would say you should not rule it out. If it makes sense for you and you think you need a cruise, I would say a 3-day will work, and it will scratch the itch. And yeah, I actually feel like it was a great length, believe it or not.
Especially the time of year you went in February. Just, get out of Dodge, get on a ship somewhere, and just at least go somewhere for a couple days.
Yep. And we surprised our kids too. So that was really exciting, especially considering COVID and the fact that you could potentially test positive at the port without even knowing you had it. We wanted to keep the surprise a surprise, so that nobody's excitement was too terribly dashed. But yeah, it worked out. I mean, it worked out really well. So it was a surprise for the kids, and I was really glad we went.
Are there any like real quick packing tips you have for going on that shorter cruise? Is there anything you don't need to worry about taking or should take?
Oh, that's a great question. I felt we packed so much, and I still feel like we underpacked somehow. I would say make sure you have 2 outfits at least for every day. 2 bathing suits, even though it seems like a short cruise, you're going to want to have a dry one. And I think that those are the big, and then make sure this is classic advice, but make sure you've got comfortable shoes you're used to wearing, because I brought new shoes for the kids and they simply wore flip-flops because they didn't like the way their new shoes felt. So I would say, yeah, just go with the standard stuff and don't plan on, spending, depending on how you enjoy the ship, don't plan on spending a ton of time shopping or anything, because the stores are packed every day, because there's not a lot of time to shop. That's probably the best stuff, is just make sure you have enough clothes. Don't underpack because you think it's so short, unless you want to buy some souvenir clothing.
Good tip, because you don't want to take any time on that short of a cruise to worry about doing laundry.
Right, exactly.
Awesome. Well, Emily, thanks so much for joining me on the show. I loved all these tips for a quick 3-day Disney cruise.
Thank you so much for having me. I just wanted to tell you before I forgot them, and I hope they'll help somebody. Hopefully they won't all be moot. Oh, well, actually, if they are, that's fine too. If we get unlimited time at the kids club, great. So,
well, Emily, if somebody wants to contact you or anything, where can they reach you?
Looper Nation Live is the best place for now. And then stay tuned for an exciting announcement regarding a fun place to see myself and another person that you may be familiar with if you're a regular listener. Oh. So, yep.
I can't
that's
wait.
My teaser.
Awesome.
It's going to be fun.
I love fun.
Yes. Well, I have to go because I have to go pack for another cruise. This time it's to space.
So, I hope you give us a lengthy little review on that one, though. That's going to be a little bit different, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. I'm going to go let you pack. I'm Tim Scott. Facebook, Twitter, the website, ResortLoop.com. You can always find me at Tim@ResortLoop.com if you want to book a trip, ResortLoopTravel.com. And also, everybody, if you're thinking of moving down there, don't forget Victor Naraki over at Disney@yourdoorstep.com. Everybody, you've been listening to The Gateway to the Magic. Take us away, Emily.
See you, everybody.
Vacation memories will stay with you and your family for a lifetime. The Resort Loop Travel Group was created with this in mind. Our fee-free services will relieve you of the stress and confusion of finding and booking the best vacation at the best price. After booking, we will continue to monitor for ways to save you even more on your vacation. We will check for any upcoming packages and discounts to save you as many vacation dollars as possible. Resort Loop Travel Group, gateway to your magical vacation memories. Get a quote, or for more information, visit ResortLoopTravelGroup.com.